Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome to Talkinsen. It's me, Ogeichi. Welcome. So, for this video, I'm just going to jump straight into it. I'm talking about feminism and everything about it, and the reason why I think that it may not be for black female, and I'm also looking more especially for black African females, but I'll just keep it as black females to save the argument. So, why do I say this? I'm talking about Black African descent females, like origin. Sorry, where your gongon like black. You understand? Everything about you is black. I'm talking about not just like your both parents are coming from the same race. So, where do I talk? Why do I speak about this? Okay, let's start. Um, During the time when a female news presenter, I believe she was, or an interpreter, because she's good, she's able to interpret in Chinese, which is very valuable to the BBC, was fighting a cause for feminist, gender equality in pay, more or less, and it's all part of this feminist movement, and every female was supporting her, and obviously seeking for the compensation from BBC, and then which led to the inquiry into BBC and gender equality in pay. During this period, what you may not have heard was that Theresa May made a statement that this inquiry should also begin for those of people of black ethnic minorities. She, from my hearing from the BBC Radio 4, said that this inquiry and things should be extended to looking into equality in pay between the black and ethnic minority in regards to compared to their counterparts of other female of the other race, as well as the men. So what I heard in that situation was crickets. What I mean crickets, that the news did not carry it further than that statement. They didn't. Even our famous BBC News TV did not even, I didn't hear it, because I was tuning in almost every day during that period to see if this becomes an argument. But nope, no, we had nothing. Zero. It was silence. Okay, literally it was silence. All right, so for the feminist movements, as I mentioned, there are different types of feminism that are out there, and it's important that you know which ones they are trying to follow. I follow none, to be honest. I simply believe that all of us should be equally paid, and especially if we're doing the same job, and also all of us should be supported to achieve the goals and dreams that we have, as same as a female. So that's my belief in life. Whatever it may be, just be supported to achieve so. However, let me define feminism. Feminism is a social and political movement, okay, that aims to expose the inequalities and mistreatment of female that exist in the society against women. Okay, so that's pretty much one of the key ends of social feminism, or feminism in general, as is a social issue actually. But I'm going to define a little bit about Marxist feminists and radical feminists, and those that take from a dual perspective between these two. So Marxist feminists argue that females are subordinated. They argue that the subordination of women to men was directly linked to their position within the capitalist society. Women provide free domestic work or domestic labor to capitalism, and they don't get paid. And then they also argue that women provide provided the means by which the next generation of workers, that's through childbirth, were born and brought up at no cost to the employers. So according to them, they see the housework that you do really, and the things that the domestic work that you do, as something that should be paid and not free, as that is free labor that enables the other, which would be the male in this relationship, to go out and make money. But for them, they do same work because housework is very tasking. Yes, thank you, I know that very well. They provide the same support, they provide support to the society by child rearing and giving birth to children, but they are not getting recognized for their own effort and their work. Now, for the radical feminists, which people like Millet and Firestone started, for them, it was their thing is that, according to them, says men are the dominant class and use their power to exploit women in any way possible, not just economically, but in other spheres, like including sexual areas as well, relationship, sexual activities, and they use their masculinity as a form of violence against women. So that's pretty much what radical feminism stands for. Now, for the dual system or dual people, like the people that look from both sides, also their key thing, they emphasize, like the radical feminists, they emphasize on the key role that females play in families. They argue that housework as domestic work is a mode of production, and argues that the work performed by women is highly productive, and yet men dominate within the household as they have the economic power. Within the family, the views and wishes of men prevail. So what are they trying to say here? Just like the Marxist feminists and the radical feminists, they agree that some of the things that these people have said are true, but they went in further to again show that even though females perform these roles at home, they where they should dominate, they still do not dominate within this sphere of the home. It's still dominated by a male, let's say the husband or the male children. So their argument is then that this should not be so, because females, regardless of where you find them, perform a highly productive work, even if it's in the house, in doing housework. And the reason why they argue that is because the male often have the economic power, so they are more likely to control. So and then women are left to be exploited again by capitalist men. At least hopefully you get from both sides of the argument of some of the things that feminism is about and what they argue. So this then brought back to the topic and to the issue that which I believe everyone else knows, but to the issue that we already know of the gender inequality in pay, as well as the gender inequality in feminism. I don't know how to put it. So what am I trying to get to? Just in case you didn't know anything about feminism, feminism started around the 1970s, I believe. And it was just because it started off the fact that females were just done and dusted with being treated lesser than their female counterparts, when they also perform similar work and out equally highly productive in different areas of life, including domestic work and also the place of work, but are not recognized properly for their work. Now, so why do I say that? It may not be for Catholics or black females, actually. Female Catholics and black females I'm looking at. One is that, first of all, when I began reading about feminism was from college days. I did it for my degree, actually. No, I didn't study feminism for my degree, but I did sociology as part of my degree, and I did sociology as my degree, and part of my degree was also looking into feminism, as you had the option of choosing the topics that you wish to read. Now, when I discovered there is something called feminism, I was excited about it because I believed in almost everything that they were saying. I'm like, yep, I see sense in that. Yes, oh yeah. I was pretty much agreeing with mostly what they are saying until I came across the Black feminists. I was like, oh, they cut the curtain back. Well, how did they draw the curtain back? They opened up my eyes to the other side of the argument, which the mainstream feminism were not raising to your attention, and which are the struggles of Black women within the society to attain the same level of success as their female counterparts of other race. So pretty much most of the arguments, if I can recall correctly, and I still recall correctly to some extent, as some of those arguments are being perpetuated and I guess argued over and over again in modern times, is that, let's just say it, white or people or Caucasian, actually call them white, I don't understand why people call them Caucasian, but when I mean white, I mean I'm talking about those that include from other countries, whether European, Latin American, I don't really care. As long as you're not white, Black, you are white. And when I mean Black, as long as you're not Black as like African origin, you are white in this context. Okay. So they were arguing that whilst these people have been fighting in the forefront, there are still inequalities between the two females, the Black and ethnic minority females, and also their Caucasian or their white counterparts, because within the same job where they are doing the same work, regardless of who is highly qualified, regardless of how much the Black one does her job to a great level, and regardless of the amount of success, and regardless of the amount of degrees and study or level of education that they do have, in most cases you find that if they are competing with their female counterparts who is of different race for the same work or for the same position or are doing the same job, they are often underpaid. And for the Black female, if they want to have a raise, they have to work their butts off. In fact, they have to be like extremely, when I mean working hard is different to cleaning someone's butt. So they have to work really hard for them to be actually acknowledged for a raise. And that raise, even if you are given that raise, you may actually stay in for that form of raise for a long time before you're actually considered for another thing. So you kind of have to break your back to be able to get that opportunity. But then if you look at from their white counterpart, they don't have to do much. They may just do little, and then they are given that opportunity for a higher promotion. So that's one of the key things that they brought to our attentions in their arguments. They also brought to our attentions the argument over beauty and who is beautiful, who is not beautiful. There are some arguments that feminists argue where they feel like they're objectified or seen as females are seen as pretty, beautiful, this and so and so. For some feminists, mostly radical feminists, they find this to be an issue, but for other feminists, they might find this very liberating. As one of them, I think this is Vivian Westwood, not Westwood, or Susan Westwood, I can't remember, but someone Westwood, that's her last name, mentioned about Diana, how she was able to use her femininity, yeah, to win the nation's heart. Through her smile, through her character, was able to do what she had to do to win the hearts and still change lives and still carry out her duties as a princess and stuff like that. And also said we could emulate from her on way of doing things, to which I agreed with. I feel like sometimes you have to take from what is in your own capacity and make use of it than looking outside of yourself, because most of the time the things that we need to fight are actually within us in most cases. So I did agree to a greater level with what she did. But what the Black feminists brought to our attention is that in the same context, even if that Black woman have all those qualities to their own white counterpart, I would say, those things are not quite enough. They almost have to do extra. They are still not recognized in the same way. So I came to realize that this issue is going to be an ongoing issue forever and ever. And why did I say that? It may not be for Black feminists. It's just, for me, I'm like, feminism is really, it's not a movement that you started. It's a movement that the Western world started. So from an African perspective, you see feminism from a different perspective, because you have to start with tradition, from tradition to religion, from religion to culture, from culture. There is so many language, there is all different things that you have to consider before you start even opening your mouth to call yourself as a feminist, because those things actually bound you to a lot of things before you untangle yourself. And those cultures and traditions that you have are different from those of Western females. So you really then have to really balance yourself out. Where do I fall into within this feminist movement? Now, I do agree with some points that the feminists make, which is equality in pay, to which we should all be getting, and the opportunity to achieve and be given the same opportunity. And I've heard was it in the Grammy Award, one of the people accepting this speech, a black woman, said the only thing that stops a black female to achieving like their white female is opportunity and recognition. So, and I agree with that point. And also something Rihanna said in one of her awards, where she accepted an award and made a speech and said, how many of us as black females or black people have friends of other race? Most raised their hands. She said, when you're fighting for your cause, bring them on, because they bring you on when they are fighting for their cause. So why not bring them on into your own cause? So I'm trying to bring them to your awareness to this issue that you may think everything is fine, but sometimes it's not fine. Just look at the things that the other race, black and ethnic minority race, really, especially from the other African background, although they are very successful, to be honest, to a great extent, but success is measured by the race, really. But for the race that is being spoken about, they're very successful. But if you measure them up to the race that's of a different person, like a white female, to say, for them that success, although it's successful, but they are not viewed in the same similar form of success. So that's really one of the things. And then another thing that brought me to speak about this is the whole story of Meghan Markle and her move to Canada, and just her wishing not to be a royal anymore. So when she made that move, I was just thinking, if she was a different race that made that move, well, she's mixed race, so she has other race to her, so she's white and black. So, but I was just wondering, if she was fully a white person, would they be calling her all the names that they've called her? And I mean, like, Diana received her own criticism, don't get me wrong, but she's celebrated, even with all the disobedience, disobeying things that all those family members have done. They are celebrated. Also, so I'm not saying necessarily that Meghan Markle disobeyed. She made her choice. I don't know what would call it, but that was her choice. Is her choice. But I just wondered, if she was a fully white person that the prince married and made that move, how would she have been celebrated by feminists that I see on TV every time? Because some of the people that were really criticizing her and just condemning her and belittling her and degrading her were people that still at the same time open their mouth to call themselves feminists. And I'm like, do you see, that's why it's not making sense. It's like, make it make sense, because if it's another race, how would you, if it's your own race, how would you have responded really to this issue? So that's really one of the reasons why I'm thinking maybe this feminism thing, maybe it's not for black people, to be precise, because if you open up the curtain, if you draw the curtain, you uncover lots of layers within the feminist movement that has not been reached, within the feminist movement that is not tampered with, that is closed, that is actually covered to us, so that we do not see those things. But I believe many black people see it anyways. Now, why do I say about Roman Catholics? Consider I'm a Roman Catholic. Why have I included religion to this? Because in the same token, I find that where the some feminist feminism, they pick and choose which group of female that they choose to support, really. So within the Catholic perspective, there is always like this, it's almost like a sympathy from a degrading perspective of how they think that Catholic females are viewed, and yet they try to put the church as not promoting female, when actually one of the key devotion that every male and female within the Catholic religion prays is like the rosary, which honors the Mother of God. but they don't recognize that. They don't recognize that high power, and some of them find it difficult to pray to this high power for intercession. So they don't recognize that area of our own, I guess, our own faith, but rather they can cherry choose which part of the Catholic Church that they choose to, I guess, criticize or condemn for their own way of practice. When the Catholic Church has often celebrated female, maybe not in the way that the feminist movement wish for them to celebrate it, but in the way that is done to honor God, because I would like to think that's the purpose of it all. There are so many females that are written out in the Bible: Deborah, Esther, name them. There are some different females, Elizabeth, and what they really have shown us is how to strive even in the midst of everything, and how to actually be your own and still thrive, regardless of how many male or whatever surrounds you. No matter the obstacle, you're still going to be recognized for your work. So yes, there may not be a lot of females described or things where he, she. Remember, it's the writer that wrote, that choose to write the way they choose to write the story. So it's important that we look at the narrative and also the look from the author's perspective when they are writing. Another thing that I would say from a Roman Catholic perspective is that I find that in most feminist context and the readings, that they appear very hypocritical when they are making judgments, and often I find them very biased. I say in the judgment of like how a Catholic Reverend sister, to say, or well, some people call them nuns, present themselves for those that wear veils, compared that to those of from a Muslim perspective or Islam perspective that choose to wear veil, and those people are seen as their veil being a form of liberating, but for the Roman Catholic it's a form of oppression. So that form of biased judgment I do have issue with, because it doesn't reflect the full picture of the other person, of the other religion. So, and some of them do interview these religious nuns or religious sisters, but the way they conduct their research or the way they interpret their findings is very, very telling of what they really think of this particular religious group or denomination, and their intention, as most of the time I don't find it to be pure, and it's often to kind of condescend or show the church in a negative light unnecessarily, to be honest. Now, am I saying there is not a lot of issues in church? There is, but they do not also open up that form of criticism to other religion, and I find them sometimes hypocritical and biased. Well, not sometimes, mostly hypocritical and biased in their views in when it comes to religious issues. And in the same token of religion, actually, I wanted to talk about African religion, but I'm not going to speak about that. I'm just going to leave this context here, because that would be opening up another form of arguments and debate, really. So I just wanted to kind of bring these issues to you. Again, this is not to bash or criticize feminist movements, really, but rather to open your eyes to become more critical on the movement that you choose to follow, and see the people that you're following, are they actually really for you? Because those that are really for you will fight for you regardless of who you are fighting against, really, and also support you in growing as they would want you to grow, because the best way to really treat a stranger is to treat them as yourself. So that's where I will leave that argument. On the next topic, thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, share if you like the video, and yeah, subscribe. That's it. Signing off. Talkinsen.